Afternoon, everybody. We're on our way into camp. There's still plenty of snow on the ground, but the weather is looking like it's going to improve over the next couple of days. It was sub-zero for a couple of weeks now, for the most part, and I haven't had the guts to come up here and deal with the cold weather. Now, last night it was about 3 degrees. Today it's going to go up to a mid-20s. Tomorrow we might even break freezing for a little while, and Thursday mid-40s, maybe even 50 degrees up here, so it may just be an early spring thaw. So I'm good for the next couple of days while it's still frozen, because once it turns to mud, I'm not going to want to be here. We got on the road about 10 o'clock this morning. We're getting here, it is just before 2 o'clock. Okay, we made it about halfway down to the property. It's not plowed the rest of the way down, so I'm going to have to park it here along the side of the road. I put a little message on there, so if anyone needs me, they can call me. I'll leave my phone number. Now I got to pack my supplies onto that sled and work our way down into camp. It's about a half a mile walk, maybe a bit less. We're wheeling around the corner. That's where camp is. Shouldn't take us very long to get there. And I may have to come back and get a few more things out of the truck. See what I have in camp. I'm never 100% sure. Walking is much easier this year versus last year's winter trip. Last year I was in about 2 feet of snow. Really struggling through this. With this ice-covered snow, it's kind of just like walking on concrete. It just gets slippery once in a while. I have crampons, but I don't need them. We're at the top of the property. This corner right here is the property line for the most part. That telephone pole. Now there is power coming down into this valley. About 4 years ago, the people below me brought the power down past my property. So if I want to get power, it's relatively inexpensive up here, but I haven't had a need for it yet, so down the hill we go. All right, welcome to the RV camp in the middle of winter. We've got a nice healthy dose of snow on the ground, and it is covered in a hard crust of ice. All right, we are here. Okay, we are in. Looks like everything is exactly the way I left it. That's what I like to see. Okay, I'm going to bring the rest of my gear in and get settled in, and we can get started with our winter camping trip. It is perfectly beautiful here. We've been going through a real cold spell. I'm talking negative degrees, really cold, windy. All this snow, it's not as friendly as it looks. It's a solid block of ice. I just came slip sliding down that driveway. I really should have put on my snowshoes. I was being optimistic. I've got some good food planned. We're going to be camping out at the Bushcraft camp. I hope that's okay. I know we lost a tree last time I was up here. It's been very windy, so you never know what I'm going to find when I get there. For those of you who haven't met her yet, this is Twinkie, the Airstream Globetrotter travel trailer. It's a 1968 Airstream Globetrotter. She's 20 foot. She's got 2 beds, a head in the back, a nice kitchen, very comfortable space. I typically only use this in the warmer seasons, but we'll see. I might just crash in here tonight to make an interesting story of it. It's a lot easier to cook in here. Now that's the shotgun shack over there. Now I could stay in there. That's pretty comfortable. It also has a kitchen. Only has 1 bed, but it's a queen size. Very cozy. Really is beautiful here. Okay, we're going to take a quick walk down to the Bushcraft camp just to have a look and see what we're up against. I may have to do some digging, and this snow is like cracking concrete, so I'm not looking forward to it. But we'll be down there in a little while. Just finished my walk down to the Bushcraft camp. The old tree is still here. I wasn't expecting it to go anywhere. That fell down in the autumn when I built the Bushcraft camp. Let's see. I see some snow on the back of the tarp, but that could be good. Just makes me less drafty. Okay. Well, we look good. The long fire pit is all covered in snow, but the inside of my shelter is perfectly dry. I love it. That's just what I wanted to see. So I think what we're gonna do, I'm gonna clear out this area for a hammock camp. Oh, it's really slippery here. So that means I gotta come in here. I've got some loppers up in the RV camp. I'll run them down on my next trip. Look at the stream, it's still flowing a little bit, but it's pretty frozen over. And we're gonna make a string line from this cedar to that cedar. We're gonna hang our hammock right in between these two trees, and that's where we're gonna sleep. This way we can hang out in the bushcraft camp, have a fire, cook, eat, sit by the fire all night, and then it's really slippery here. At the end of the night, I just have to take a short walk into my hammock camp. Should be a nice spot. A little winter hammock camping? Why not? Last time I was here, I slept in this shelter on my cot. I won't bother setting up the cot this time. I'll just set up my chair, which is back in there. I'm probably only gonna have a fire in the stove. That worked best last time. So I think that's exactly what we're gonna do. And we can hang out in here, and then at the end of the night, into the hammock. That should be for tonight. Thank you everybody for coming along and spending some time with me today up in the mountains of the Catskill region. In the middle of winter, we are covered in snow and ice and all sorts of beautiful things. You know how much I love when the sun is shining on fresh ice and snow. And this is what we've got. If there's a downside, like I've been saying, this ground is hard as a rock and slippery, so I have to dig out my crampons and throw them on. Okay, I'm going to get back up to the RV camp. I'm going to make myself comfortable there, unpack, get my gear ready to come out here so I can get setting up. It's warmer than it has been. It's probably in the high teens, low 20s right now. This is about the high for the day. It's middle afternoon. So it's going to get cold from here. It's supposed to go back into the teens or single digits, so I'm going to want to bundle up tonight. Not too bad coming up the hill. Get 6 sets of micro cleats. Made by Sub-Zero. That should help a lot. It's like day and night having the spikes on. Much nicer to walk. Just ran out for a few more things I wanted to bring in while it's still sunny out, including my micro spikes. I'm gonna need these to get out of here in the morning or the next day whenever I decide to leave. I'm not gonna be able to pull weight without these. I was able to walk up okay, but it was really slippery. I'll be back in camp real soon. Okay, just taking a little breather. Stop back at the RV camp, make myself a cup of tea, warm up a little bit. It's going to be another typically cold night up here. I think we're going to go down to 11 degrees on the overnight. But until later, it's really not too bad. It's in the mid-20s out there. It's pretty nice. I'm going to start a fire. I'm going to cook my dinner out there. We'll hang out at the Bushcraft camp until dark, and then when it's bedtime, I'm going to be coming back up here to the RV camp. It's just too cold, too miserable out there. I'll burn way too much fuel if I stay out there. Just not worth it. So tomorrow's going to warm up. We'll do an overnighter in the snow tomorrow. Tonight we'll wind up. We're going to cook on the fire. We'll be hanging out there, but we're going to come back here to crash. While there's still a little bit of light, I figure I would show you cabin life here. I've got most of my stuff lined up on the queen size bed over here. I haven't gotten everything unpacked yet. I have to make my bed. In the corner is my food. Next to you over here by the heater is my my protein defrosting. Everything's frozen. But I'm having a nice hot cup of tea, warming myself up for a little while, and then I'm going to get back to it. The light's dropping fast. It's getting late in the afternoon. It'll be dark in no time at all. So, cheers, everybody. The pond is frozen, but it's underneath a thick crust of this icy snow. So, it's a lot of digging to do some ice skating. I do have my ice skates in the truck. Well, it is a beautiful afternoon here up at the Bushcraft camp. Just hauling in some supplies for the evening. Gonna have a nice campfire out here, cook some dinner. It's gonna be a beautiful night. Now, I was explaining earlier, we had a very cold winter here. We had a very long cold snap. Just last night it was like -3 here. Everything is solid ice. The whole ground there's no powdery snow. It's just like concrete. So I've got my micro spikes on so I can move around. I got my sled bringing things to and from where I want to be. And we're going to get ourselves comfortable here. We're in the Catskill Mountains. Have a look at the scene here. There we go. There's a little river valley below us. It's all covered in ice and snow. I've got some firewood. I need to collect a bit more. There's plenty laying around. The only problem is it's all buried in this crunchy snow. Forget the kindling. That sucks. Guess I can't complain. I've had this saw for quite some time. They're really not meant for cutting down trees. Now I'm targeting some of these trees because I need to remove them anyway. I don't cut down trees lightly. Got to give it a lot of thought. It's just a big decision. That tree's been growing. Even a small one like that one we just took down has been growing for a couple of years. Got to decide. This is actually going to be the access driveway to the new RV site. Hopefully later this season I'll be doing that. Okay, I've got a fair amount of firewood all stacked up. That should be good for this evening. Get our dinner cooked. Be able to hang out here tonight, have a nice campfire. It'll be a beautiful night for it. I have these are fat wood sticks. When you want to fire quickly. No muss, no fuss. I want to get a fire going pretty quickly because I want to cook my dinner. Nothing fancy, just a couple of cheeseburgers. We're going to let this get going, and we'll be right back. We got out to camp on the later side of the afternoon, so as usual, I'm not going to try to set up for an overnight here on the first night in. What I'm going to do is have a nice campfire, cook myself a couple of cheeseburgers, hang out by the fire, and there's a big old full moon's going to come up and go riding right over us for the evening, so it should be a real beautiful spot to view it. Alright, thank you for coming along. I hope you enjoy. I'm going to try to get some of this on video. It's kind of a tough shot for GoPros, but I'll see what I can get. I got a nice small fire going here. I'm not trying to heat the whole house here, just to warm my hands and to be comfortable. I've got my grill to cook burgers on. I'm just gonna heat it up. Cooking the burgers because I can cook them frozen. I've got a steak in there defrosting and a piece of chicken. I think that's gonna be the plan. We're gonna make some improvements. I've got some food to cook. And then I'm gonna set up for an overnight camp in the snow. A little bit of ice in there. Quick snack. That's really all it is. I've got another one to go. Woohoo! We're just getting comfortable here in camp. We just got here a little while ago. The moon is coming out. It's bright and full tonight. It's a beautiful, crisp night. It's going to go down into the teens, maybe 11 degrees as a low. So I'm going to eat this real fast while it's hot, and we will be back when I'm done. I burned the bread a little bit. My grandmother used to say that burned bread is good for your stomach. I don't know. It still tastes good. Looking like a nice hot cup on a cold night in front of a campfire. That's what we've got here. I'm going to build this up a little bit to make some heat. Since I got here so late, I'm just going to hang here by the fire for a little while and enjoy. And then I'm going to hike back up to the RV camp on the other side of the property, and I am going to go to sleep there where it'll be safer.
Partly sunny tomorrow with a high near 35. Mostly cloudy tomorrow night, temperatures holding pretty steady, 30 to 35, and then rain showers developing Thursday, warmer, 50 to 55.
Okay, how are you? It's 6:35 in the morning. That's running through a few.
6:30. It was so cold last night. We're all frosted up on the glass. There we go. Go look outside. It must have gone down below zero. Had to. I got ice all over the window. It can't be much more than 30 degrees in here right now with the heater on. What a cold night. Okay, I gotta get some tea going and wake myself up. I'm not going to be going out there for a little while. They say it's supposed to get up near to freezing today, about 36 degrees maybe by 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll see about that. It is so cold. Whew. A very cold night, indeed. I put this outside. That is reading -2 degrees right now. The sun is just starting to peek up over the hilltop behind the Airstream. And once that happens, we're going to go up to a balmy 34 degrees by 11 o'clock. I'll believe that when I see it. Just a solid block of ice. Well, let's take a walk over to the Airstream. Super slippery. Just slick. Oh, just saw a deer run down the hill that way. How do they run like that? Okay. Welcome to the Airstream. Yeah, it's very, very, very cold. I have another thermometer here, but it looks frozen. When it gets this cold, I do have equipment for this. They make gear for people who work in refrigerators and freezers, commercial freezers. And that's what I have here. This is a negative 50-degree bib. Now, I should be able to get this on right over my boots. Heavy-duty snaps, heavy-duty zippers, really good quality stuff. Now, when your life depends on it, you gotta buy the best. It was freezing last night under 2 wool blankets, fully dressed with my puppy jacket on. So it is dangerously cold at this point. That's what I call it. This is the kind of cold where if you knock yourself out and fall down right now, you ain't going home. So, equipment like this is meant to keep you alive. Now, with this on, I can sit outside in 20-degree weather or less. Sit in an Adirondack chair and drink a cold beer and I'll be very comfortable. Now, I used to have a big puffy jacket that went with this, but it was just too hard to work in. So I layer up on my chest, and this basically just keeps the core very well insulated. You're not going to be cold wearing this. I already feel nice and warm, and this thing is ice cold. It's negative 2 degrees out right now. It was a bit colder overnight as well. I wonder if my whiskey froze. Nope, whiskey's still good. A little early in the morning for that. My body's now nice and warm, but my hands are cold. So I need a pair of gloves. Let's go back. Looks like that branch snapped. Right about there. There it is. It's falling down. That's an odd direction for the wind. Usually the wind goes in this direction, and it must have been a wind out of the east that got it. We did have a couple of nor'easters just recently. That's where we slept last night. My plan was to camp at the Bushcraft camp. It was supposed to be in the 20s last night, but about 7, 8 o'clock, it started dropping. The temperature was plummeting like a rock, and I wound up putting my fire down and coming up here to the cabin where I've got a space heater. And basically I huddled around that space heater till I went to bed, and I went to bed fully dressed with the space heater on, with 2 wool blankets wrapped around me, and I still woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning freezing. I mean, chattering. It's crazy weather, crazy temperatures here. But now that my sun is out, just peeking up over the hill, that baby is so close to us and on such a good angle, it's going to warm this valley up in no time. I don't think we're going to be losing any of this snowpack anytime too soon, but it should be warm enough to play today and get some work done on the Bushcraft camp. Okay. We're going to work our way out to the camp, start our morning fire, and get some breakfast going. I think could be a good way to start the day. Welcome everybody to the Great Northern Catskills in the middle of winter. This is what it looks like. It's cold. It's a real refrigerator here. To our west and north is the Great Lakes, and it's like a snow machine. Once the winds start blowing out of Canada, it just fills this whole region up with snow like this, and it stays like this for quite some time. I've had years where I still had ice and snow in the valley in May. Collect some wood both for fire and for building. And I'm going to clear a spot for a hammock camp. Now, if it warms up like it's supposed to stay in the 30s overnight tonight. Now, I think I can get away with camping in the 30s in a hammock wearing my refrigerator. That's the theory anyway. So I'm going to wind up hanging out at the Bushcraft camp all day, cooking and eating, but I'm not going to set up my bed like I did last time. I'm going to set up a hammock that has an underquilt, and I put a tarp over it on a really sharp angle so it protects me from the wind. And that's where I'm going to tuck in and go to bed with a couple of wool blankets and my refrigerator, a bib. I should be plenty warm, I hope. If not, I'll get back up and go over by the fire again, I suppose. I could always sleep in my chair by the fire if I have to. Wouldn't be the first time. Okay. I'm gonna go get myself prepared and we're gonna hike out to the Bushcraft camp today. In the cold. It's really cold. Here's a problem you don't see down in Florida much when you're camping. My replacement LP tanks are frozen to the ground. Oh, caramba. That's not moving. Ooh, I'm gonna have to break that ice. Alright everybody, I ran into a few hiccups this morning. It was so cold last night that my replacement LP tanks froze to the ground. The sun is out now and it's warming it up very, very quickly. It was in the negative single digits when I woke up this morning, and I'm not sure where it is now, but it's probably coming into the 20s already. And it's causing some pretty heavy wind. That's one of the things that I really don't like here, especially in the winter, is heavy winds. But the thing you have to remember is to not be here when the wind picks up really bad. So I'll be monitoring it. It's pretty darn windy out there. I'm hearing branches crackling above my head, and that's when I start to worry. So we're going to hang for the day. I'm going to go over to camp. I'm going to start a fire. I'm going to hang out and do some work on camp. Whether or not I stay overnight is another story, because I don't even like to stay in the RV camp when it gets really windy out. So we'll see how the day pans out. So right now I'm just sitting in the cabin, no heat on. I just have the sun coming through the door. It's beautiful. So I'm appreciating it, enjoying it, staying warm, saving fuel. I've refueled my heater, so that's ready just in case I need it. You know, night one, it was just bitterly cold. There was no way we were sleeping outside. The winds were so bad. There's an important lesson here. You have to know when to know your limits. Even with the right equipment, if you're going to be putting yourself in harm's way, you have to think about, is it worth it? You know, is it worth being out there in high winds and branches and trees can potentially fall on you and kill you? I spent the evening down there. I made myself a couple of burgers. Hung out for a while by the campfire. It was beautiful, but the temperature just dropped so fast and so abruptly that I had to pack up and head up to the RV camp. I just couldn't stay out there in the woods. Today I'm going to go down to the Bushcraft camp and we're going to get some work done. I want to close in the tripod so I can store firewood and keep the snow out of there and give myself a little bit more wind block. But I'm not trying to get anything complete today. It was going to be a slow process putting this camp together. I don't want to do too much because we're buried in snow right now, so I don't want to have to redo things in the spring. So I'll start from the top and work my way down, I guess. I need to collect wood, both for firewood and for building materials. So that's how we're probably going to get started. I'll start a small fire to keep warm by, make my lunch. Lunch is coming up soon enough. It's about 10 o'clock in the morning right now. I'm going to finish my tea. I'm going to get myself packed up and get down to the camp, get some work done. Okay, let's get to it. Thanks for being here. Nice little spikes. They're a big help in this ice. Very big help. It is beautiful out here. The wind is making me just a little bit nervous. There is the Bushcraft camp. I left here in a pretty big hurry last night because it was getting cold. Everything is great here though. It stayed nice and dry inside the shelter, just as I was hoping. Everything is functional. The tarp is all intact. Nothing's really moved much. A little bit of a collapse over here. I have some wood stacked up for this evening. I need to go collect some more for building and more for firewood as well. I don't think I'm gonna even bother setting up the long fire. It's just too cold. We'll see. It is supposed to warm up a little bit Just doesn't feel like it at all. We're here at the Bushcraft camp. There is snow on the ground. It is hard as a rock. It has been unseasonably cold here, even for the mountains. It usually doesn't get as cold as it has been. It was in the negative single digits last night. But along with the sun, we got wind. There's a lot of wind all of a sudden, so it's not unexpected. As it gets warmer, the air rises, creates wind. So I'm pretty good over here. There's only 1 or 2 branches I'm worried about. All right, the first thing on the list for today, I'm gonna clear this area out over here. I've got some loppers that I can cut down all this little stuff. And I'm gonna put my hammock in between the 2 cedar trees. We're gonna make a hammock camp right here, right next to the frozen creek. We're gonna put up a string line above the hammock and put on a 10 by 10 tarp to keep the wind off me. And if the weather is good tonight, I'm gonna be sleeping right here. I hope it gets warm. The hammock that I have is rated down to about 50 degrees with the underquilt that I purchased separately. So between that, my refrigerator, I'll probably just wear the bib to sleep, and I have 2 wool blankets. It truly is beautiful here in the wintertime, no doubt about it. It really is a gorgeous place. Everything is just covered in frosting. It looks beautiful. But it's deadly out here. It was very, very cold last night. About -5 when I woke up this morning. Ever since the sun came up, it's been warming up pretty fast. We're probably in the 20s maybe now, mid-teens. 11:30. Just want to check my temperature gauge. About 6 degrees. It's not warming up as much as they're saying. It's cold and windy. The sun's nice and warm when it hits you. Since I broke my saw, my folding saw, I had to run up to the truck. It's a decent walk. That's my Sven saw. That's the folding bow saw. Whew, the snow on the driveway is very soft because it's been in the sun all morning. It's melting. Okay, mission accomplished. We went to get the saw. Now we can get back to work. It's getting chilly. A couple of pieces of this fat wood. No sense messing around. This stuff lights like kerosene. Okay. Now that we got it burning, a little bit of kindling. That works very well. Love that fat wood. It's well past lunchtime, and we have a porterhouse steak. So that's going to be what I'm going to do next. I'm going to let this fire burn in, get some coals going. I have my little grill here. It'll have to work. We'll make it work. We're going to tarp this tripod. While the fire gets started, you can see it in the background. I want to cook that steak, but I can't just sit there and watch the fire. I have to do something, so. It's not incredibly pretty, but frankly it doesn't need to be. It's protection from the wind. It'll get some more attention, but first we have a steak to cook. Well, you know, considering how little work that really was, it makes it feel much better in here. It's really holding off the wind coming out of the west. It's gonna make life in the lean-to just a little bit more comfortable. We're having a late lunch. At this point, it might just be considered supper and lunch at the same time. I don't eat as much when I'm here as when I'm home. Too busy. Sometimes when I'm home, I just eat because I'm bored. Where here, I just eat when I'm hungry. Porterhouse steak, cooked on a campfire. I'm thinking that's gonna be good for this afternoon's cooking. I've got some for this evening already set aside. That ought to be enough, at least for now. Let's go check on our good looking bed of coals. We're just using whatever wood I can find around camp. See, nicely marbled. Nice porterhouse. It's as simple as that. Put it on the fire. Flip it, cut it, and eat it. For lunch / dinner. I think that's what we're gonna call it. Okay, lunch is served. Thanks so much for showing up and keeping me company today while I cook my steak over a campfire in the mountains in the middle of winter, surrounded by ice and snow. It's the best way. That was a good one. Now I gotta go get cleaned up. Putting up the hammock. Starting to get chilly again. Perfect. The other side's already done. Now I can put the hammock up. A hammock by G for free. I set this up once in my backyard. I've never used it for camping yet. This one is not related to the hammock, it's just one I picked up online. What is that called? One Tigress. Ooh. It's got a nice bag. For a change, they actually gave you a bag that's big enough to get the product into and compressible. I like that. Hey, when they make the bag just big enough to get the part back into again, and I inevitably wind up throwing away that bag and finding one that works better. Well, I've never set one of these up before. I guess I'll take it for a test ride, huh? Collapses. I want to make sure that the camera's rolling. That's mosquito netting. I could just use the bottom side and not bother with this mosquito netting, but let me see how it works with it. Now inside here I'm going to put my sleeping bag, and I'm going to have my wool blanket with me as well. And depending on how cold it is, I may even wear my refrigerator bib, just to be nice and warm. Well, the angle's good. I think I got it set just right. So now I have to put up a taut line above it so that I can put a 10 by 10 tarp over the top of it. I don't think it's going to rain tonight, but it'll keep the wind off. And it's part of the setup. We'll see how it all works together. That is our G for free hammock and our One Tigress under quilt. By no means an expensive setup. This stuff was all very inexpensive. I've always wanted to try hammock camping, not necessarily in the dead of winter surrounded by ice and snow, but this will come in very handy on some multiple day hikes that I have planned for this season, that I'm going to do hammock camping, because it's much easier to set up a hammock camp in the backcountry, because you're not going to be having to level as much. You know, you get a tent in there, you can just find 2 trees and string up your hammock and go to bed. It's a very lightweight system, packs down into nothing, so I think it's going to work out great. And that's it. I see that one tree is in the way a little bit. damage to the tarp. Gotta be careful with this zipper. It gets fouled easily. Just gonna give it a lay down, see how it feels with the tarp on. I'm gonna turn on my other camera. I can already feel the warmth coming from the underquilt. Very nice. I was not expecting much. But that's a good thing. I could take a nap right now. It's really comfortable. That's some sweet view to wake up to in the morning. So, the next step for me is bedding. I'm going to bring out my sleep system, which is my 50-odd degree sleeping bag, and I'm going to bring out a wool blanket. And that, in conjunction with what I'm wearing, and if it gets really cold, I can throw on my refrigerator bib in addition to that. And if I'm cold wearing that, I shouldn't be out here. So I think the temperatures are going to remain relatively warm as compared to last night. Last night it went down into negative single digits. It was really cold. Tonight should not be that bad. We're looking 20 degrees, 25 degrees, maybe even warmer than that. It's actually going to be over 50 degrees tomorrow, even more like 60 in the Hudson Valley, down off the mountaintop. So it should be a perfect night for a hammock camp, a wintertime hammock camp. I'm going to go over there and get back to my campfire, hang out a little while before I go get my bedding, and I'm getting ready to call it a day. Alright, well, the day is growing short. I've got my hammock is all set up over there. My fire is roaring along. I'm about to start putting some larger pieces of lumber in there. And I think I might be done for the night. I was going to do a little more work on the shelter, but I'm tired. I was doing a lot of walking around back and forth. It is a relatively lonely place here. At least the sun is coming up over the hilltop now. A few weeks ago it wasn't even coming up over the hill. So you get to see the sun. It was a glorious day today, maybe a little cold, but it's been warming up all day. I'm hoping that wind dies down overnight. And this way I don't have to worry while I'm sleeping in a hammock. Alright, we'll be back real soon. We're getting our bedding together. And basically I put my wool blanket in on the diagonal, so I have a point on each end. And a point hanging out each side. Alright, that's the first layer. So I'm going to be up on this end up here. I'm going to be able to get in and pull that right over the top of my head, pull that end right over my feet, and wrap myself up just like a burrito, like I've done in other winter camping situations. It worked then, and it'll work now. It's the same system. I've got my regular sleeping bag here, which is usually good to about 50 degrees, positive 50 degrees, more like a spring summer bag. But between this and a woolly, I'm very comfortable. And not to mention, we have an underquilt on this setup. All right, so I'm going to get my my sleeping bag set in there, and I'll be right back. This is my sleeping bag inside of the wool blanket. All right. So once I get into the sleeping bag, I can pull this end up and over my toes, this end over my top, over the other side, and this side up over my head. I should be very comfortable in there. All right, so let's give it a try. We're in. It's still a little bit light out. It's kind of early, but I'll show you what it looks like. You better look at what's going on here. A little bit of light. So I'm in my sleeping bag. I'm not all zipped up in it. And then I'm in a wool blanket. I gotta say, I'm very comfortable. I feel secure. I've got the tarp up and over me. And I've got the quilt under me. I feel very warm. I don't have my sleeping bag zipped all the way up. I really don't like being like that. I get a little claustrophobic, but if it gets colder later, I could always zip into that, bum me up. But the wool blanket's very, very warm right now. So I think I'm just going to take a nap here for a little while. Well, I'm all wrapped up. I just tested it out. It's very comfortable. Just about fell asleep there. I'm sure it's going to be cozy for tonight. The weather forecast is surprisingly warm. We're in the upper 30s. We're supposed to stay here and almost go into the 40s overnight, so it should be a nice night in front of the campfire. I already have it going. Just got to stoke it up a little bit. This is all materials for the Bushcraft camp. I didn't get to today. I was gonna try to close up this tripod. Ran out of time. It'll keep. See how the fire's doing here. It's nice and warm in here, that's for sure. Alright, we got coals in there, don't we? Let's get her stoked up. This thing is awesome. The stoker, they call it. Well, that's about it for daylight. It's starting to get dark out. Of course, with the white snow everywhere, everything looks bright. There was a full moon last night, but I'm not going to be able to see it tonight because there's a bit of an overcast thing happening here. It got cloudy and warm air started pushing in. Pretty amazing. It was very, very cold this morning. When I woke up, it was about -5. Now it's probably getting close to 40 degrees. It's almost a 50-degree change in less than 24 hours. One thing about the weather in the Catskills is it's unpredictable. Alright, now it's time just to sit by the fire and chill out. Thank you so much for clicking on that button and spending some time with me today here at the Bushcraft camp in the Catskill Mountains. We are covered in rock-hard snow and ice. And it's starting to melt down. There's spring in the air. Warm air coming up from the south, southwest. And a little bit of cloud cover, so it's going to be a warm night apparently. Compared to last night, that's for sure. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate your support. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscription button in the corner. And don't forget to turn on your notifications. If you enjoy this content, give us a big thumbs up. And don't forget to leave a comment below. Love to hear from you. Thank you for watching. Good night. God, that was a beautiful night. The wind was a little much, but not all night. I'm so comfortable and warm. It's not nearly as cold as it was yesterday morning. It's just starting to get light out. Yeah, I slept like a stone. I was not cold at all. I lost my light though. It's in here somewhere. No, there it is. Time to get up and make a cup of tea. I've got a bag of oatmeal for breakfast. It's gonna rain later. Yeah, it's gonna even get warmer. And it's supposed to start raining in the afternoon. And it could be heavy, and there's a flood alert. So we're out of here. I'm gonna break this down. I'll leave up the toilet line until next trip. Because I'm gonna sleep like this again. This was really comfortable. That was the only downside. I gotta secure this tarp a little bit better, but that didn't bother me so much. I'm so warm, cozy. Okay, time to get up. Good morning, everybody. Good. Windy as hell last night. I'm surprised the tarp stayed in one piece. It's not cold at all. It's got to be in the 40s right now. Snow is melting really fast. There's a flood watch. I think starting at 11 o'clock this morning. It's supposed to start raining about 1. They say afternoon. We're gonna get out of here as quick as possible because I don't want to get caught down in this valley once it all turns to mud. And I certainly don't want to have to pull my sled out in heavy sleety rain. So we're packing up and getting out of here as quick as possible. Thank you everybody for coming along and sharing this winter camping experience with me. My first hammock camp in February, surrounded by ice and snow. I got lucky with the weather. Last night was beautiful. The night before was -5 degrees when I woke up in the morning. There's no way I could have camped out here in those temperatures. But last night worked out just fine. The temperature changed like that, about a 50-degree temperature change in 24 hours. We went from -5 to almost 50 degrees, and we're gonna go almost closer to 60 today. So it's a big spring meltdown up here in the mountains. Time to get out of Dodge before I get stuck. So I'm gonna break this down. I'm gonna make myself a cup of tea, and I'm gonna start packing out to my car as quickly as I can. Again, thank you so much for joining me. That's it from the great northern Catskill Mountains. One last look at the river. Now yesterday that was all solidly frozen. Now it's almost open. There's still ice in there. The ice is melting quickly. Okay, no fire this morning. I just used my alcohol stove to make a cup of tea real quick. I'm not gonna spend too much time here. I got things all cleaned up. Kindling ready to go for next time. I've got a few logs ready for the next trip. That's always a good idea. It's nice to get here and have wood ready to burn. Looks like the sun is just starting to peek up around the mountaintop. You see the colors are starting to come out. It's been light for maybe a half hour, 45 minutes now. The weatherman's telling me it's warm and getting warmer, and there's rain on the way, and it may be heavy at that. So I'm going to drink my cup of tea, wake my ass up, and I've got to hike out of here, get back to my car before the rain starts. I want to get back home. It's been a couple of days. I'm missing my wife and my belly dog. It's the best part about going away is going home. Back to the people that you love. Cheers. Thank you for coming along on this trip up to the Catskill Mountains in the dead of winter for a hammock camp in the snow. See you next time.